I have my daughter Shekinah here with me today. We're talking about the dynamics of a blended family. Often you just hear from the adults and you don't get a chance to hear from what the children experienced. I know with Shekinah it was a painful process for her and it was a trying process for her because she had just experienced 2 years prior to my husband and I getting married. Um, she just experienced me and her father having a divorce and trying to adjust to that. Although we went to therapy as a family, we went to therapy individually, it still was a process for her. So when it was time for us to get married, we paid $200 for Shekinah to get her hair done, and she decided at the last minute she wasn't going to show up at the wedding. And obviously, of course, I was very upset about the fact that she wasted our $200. But it was even harder for me to understand why she would have done this at the last minute. And it wasn't until later on where I was able to reflect on it and think, although I had healed, she had not. She was still going through that process of healing. And to attend a wedding was just too much for her to bear. And so as time went on, we talked about it. I remember she and I were out for a run one day, and she said to me, Mom, I know that it's going to take some time, but I believe eventually things are going to work out, and I'll be able to handle having a stepfather. And I appreciated that she was open enough to share that with me and express that to me. Her feelings, all of my children's feelings, are very important to me. I wanted to understand how they were feeling about the dynamic of going from an intact family to now a blended family. And I was glad that she was open enough to express that. So I'm going to give the floor to her and give her an opportunity to express, some of the things that you were feeling during that time, and what is something that you can tell someone else who might be going through it.
Things will get better. Take some time. Everyone, a different amount of time to adjust. Everyone's different, so
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely gonna take time. And really, you just have to learn to adapt. When you're in a situation like that, and just keep going. Just make the best out of what you got.
Right. And I have to commend her because even during this process, her grades remained well. She graduated with a 3.3 average, and she's in college now on the dean's list. So that is a blessing that, in spite of her transition, in spite of the difficulty, she was still able to maintain her grades in school and to remain focused. There are many children out there who struggle in that area because of the dynamic and the change from going through a divorce or even a blended family. Um, so Shekinah, share with us some of the things that you feel like we could have done differently, or something that we could have done differently to help you adjust better.
We could have got to know him better, and he could have spent more time with us, not just drop you off.
Right.
And yeah, he could have. Yeah, he just got to know us better.
So you feel like that during the dating process, where he and I were dating, that we should have made a point to make sure that he spent more time with you guys to get to know you.
Well, not necessarily more time, but time. If y'all was planning on getting married anytime soon,
Mm-hmm.
of course he should have made a point to spend a little more time so we're comfortable with him and really get to know him before he just marries you off.
Right. So So what you're saying is that because there was time spent, you just felt like it should have been more time that was spent with you guys to get to know you before we actually got married. I understand that because what you're saying is that you dated my mom, and yeah, we spent a little time together, but it wasn't sufficient enough time in order for us to get to know you before you were in the home and now operating as a stepfather.
Yeah.
Right. What was one of the hardest things for you?
Being told by him what to do because I didn't know him well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like being told what to do.
You said, okay, so you didn't know him well, and then on top of that, you already didn't like being told what to do.
Yeah, I don't like being told.
You don't like being told what to do. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of hard.
Mm-hmm. And so, fast forwarding, now that we're in this for almost 5 years, um, what what are some positive things that you have pulled from this?
I liked having like more siblings.
You like having more siblings, okay?
And I learned. What did I learn? I think I learned how to take more direction with people.
Okay. You
And
think?
I learned to more discipline.
Okay, so you feel like in this new situation where we now have the blended family that you've learned to take more direction and you've learned to be more disciplined.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you now have a better relationship? Do you feel like you have a better relationship now with your stepfather than you did before? Do you feel like it's gotten worse?
Yeah, it's gotten better. Of course, 'cause I got to know him.
Okay.
I've gotten to know him. So, yeah, it's gotten better.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's a positive. These are important conversations that we have to be willing to have with our children. Sometimes we may not want to hear what they have to say. It may be painful for us. We may have to walk away, take a deep breath before we can respond to it. But it's very important for us to have these conversations. The marriage, the blended family is not just us and our spouse. It's us, our spouse, our children. It's when they get older, it's going to be their children and their children's children. The blend doesn't just stop once our children go off to college. It still continues on. As you can see, Shekinah's in college now, and it's still going on. When she comes home for break, it's making that decision of, okay, where am I going to stay? Who am I, how long am I going to stay at my mom's? How long am I going to stay at my dad's? It's that dynamic, and it's very important for us as parents to try to make that process as easy as possible. And that comes from having these serious conversations. That comes from understanding their perception and being willing to talk the tough situations out. I encourage you to have that conversation with your children today. Be blessed.